Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jenni Burton, and I am the Senior Director of Marketing here at Boardable, and am super excited for this summer launch webinar. We've been building a lot in the background. A lot of these things have started to go live for some customers and are continuing to roll out over the next month or so, but we're really excited to share all of the progress that we've made. And this is really bigger than a product launch. So in the past, we've done product innovation webinars where we're really like, here's the 10 things that we've gotten done, which Cody and his product team are always hard at work doing those amazing things. But this is really a bigger theme for us and a bigger true launch to really reposition what we think of as governance here at Boardable. Before we get started, I have a few housekeeping reminders I want everybody to be aware of. The first is you are all muted. So unless your name is Cody Bender and you're on here with me, you are muted for the remainder of this. You can chat, so you can drop in your name, your organization, and perhaps where you're at right now over in chat. And then also, if you have questions, we encourage you to use the questions icon below. That's super helpful for us. Just in the case that we don't get to all the questions, we can track those easier and make sure that all of them get followed up on by our great CS team or anybody in the organization and make sure those get checked off. This will be recorded. So if you have to drop or if you have a colleague that wasn't able to attend, this will be recorded. We also have some plans to cut some different segments to make it easier to find what you're looking for in the recordings. And I think that is all of my housekeeping things before I jump in. So kind of first things first, we always invite both our customers and folks that are new to Boardable, potentially looking at Boardable, to these webinars. So I always like to just use this slide to level set. What does Boardable do? What are we all about? So we're a board management platform, and there's really 4 tenets of what we focus on when it comes to both our product as well as kind of the services that go around that. First, stay organized and efficient. So making sure the board has one central location for all of their board-related activities. The next is seamlessly collaborate. So allow board members and staff members and executive directors to all engage before, during, and after the board meeting. Next is that understanding of your board. So understanding how are they engaging with content, who is on the board, all of those details that are really important there. And then lastly is to elevate professionalism. So elevating professionalism is really this idea of how do we make sure that there's a great experience for those board members? How do we make sure there's a great place to recruit and onboard and get all of those great board members to have a good experience as well as the entire organization. So this is just high level what we do here at Boardable and what we focus on. I'm going to introduce my colleague, Cody Bender, who's our Chief Product Officer. You're going to hear his voice for a good portion of this webinar as we go through the product highlights here. But first, I'm going to present the case for change, sort of this idea that I led with of, hey, this is more than just, here's a handful of product features that we've done, have at it, type of thing. It's really this, I would say this concept that has always been there, but is really steeped into us as we've continued to talk to our customers more and just build more things within Boardable, is this idea that governance is not this chore. It's actually this gift, this asset that really can be a great thing for nonprofit organizations. Cody's going to walk through the product highlights. I'm going to share some new customer resources that go along with all of these themes, and then we'll leave some time for Q&A. So I encourage you to go ahead and drop in where you're calling from, your organization, and again, utilizing that chat functionality just for any comments or anything that you're excited about. Feel free to go ahead and use that as well, and that questions for anything you want to make sure you get followed up on. So we'll go ahead and get started. I mean, the first thing here, I've already kind of led with this, and there were some jokes about this screen. Like the person looks pretty miserable before and after. So the before and after here is pretty extreme. But ultimately, this is the concept of how do we look at governance as a leadership tool? So it's not just documentation. It's not just compliance and checking the boxes, but it's really this idea that I can use governance as a way to be more transparent with my audience. I can use it to build trust, to protect the mission, and to really build that credibility with your organization or with your community and your constituents as well. So we believe in the power of governance as not just a box to check, but as something that really can be a tool for you. Anything that you would add there, Cody? Nope.
Sorry, I was very far away from the mute button. No, I completely agree with what Jenny's saying there. And I think very frequently, governance can be a little bit of a four-letter word because it implies effort, it implies work. And, too much governance without thought or without the right tools can be, obtrusive and effortful. And, we are really focused on how do we help nonprofits get to that level of governance that's really useful for them without having to over index and over resource and go through an incredible amount of pain to get there. So completely agree with what you said, Kevin.
Awesome. And to just kind of lead on to that and bring a little bit more, I would say, meat to this conversation. We really think there's three kind of core tenets when it comes to this modern governance platform and what we're focused on. And really not what we're focused on, what we're focused on our customers being able to do. Number one, protect the mission, right? So making sure that that's front and center, that's clear, and we can lead without just those distractions or kind of the mission creep that can happen, and all of those things. Leading with clarity, this one's huge. So this idea that, hey, when things get crazy, having processes in place is a good thing, right? Having a playbook, knowing like when this happens, this is how we handle this. That is like so much comfort, I think, to so many of us, right? To not be like, oh, we have a blank page and we have no idea how we would address this. So really having that ability to have those bylaws in one place, to have the processes in place, and to really be able to lead with clarity. And then the last one's this idea of building trust. And we've started to work with a lot of organizations that when it comes to transparency and when it comes to building trust with their constituents, oftentimes they are, there's legal requirements for them to do this, right? There's legal requirements for them to have public meetings, to live stream their meetings, to do these different things. But this really, regardless of what kind of legal parameters you're under, as a nonprofit, as a school board, as any of these things, there's an ability to do this in a way that can build trust, right? So even if you don't have those legal requirements, how are you building trust with your governance practices and how are you being transparent in that way? And then when we think about the trust gap, this is really interesting and it's kind of a little Captain Obvious, if you will. If you think about just kind of the broader world that we live in today, there's this rising demand for transparency, right? People people to be held accountable. They want people to be honest. There's kind of less cracks or crevices to hide in, if you will. But then there's also this other idea of declining trust in institutions, right? We've seen this time and again. I feel like there's sort of clickbait and there's like headlines and all those things, but this idea that institutions as a whole, there's just less trust in them, right? There's just more media sources and there's more kind of points of view and opinions. And we just don't have the blind trust that maybe in 1970 with 3 broadcast stations that there was, kind of this big trust in the big institutions. One stat that I think is really compelling is this idea that 74% of Americans say it's very important for institutions to be transparent, and only 27% think that nonprofit organizations are doing that today. So that's a Pew Research study, and you kind of see this gap, right? Like we think it's really important, and a lot of folks don't feel like nonprofits are doing that well today. We also see in sort of the school board segment specifically, 57% of school board members report challenges with public transparency. They want to be transparent. For some reason, there's friction in the process. They're struggling for that right balance and meeting those requirements around public transparency. So just a couple of stats, to kind of bring this to life. And the idea is, how do we use governance to make this trust gap smaller, and certainly not get any bigger than it is today for lots of organizations? Kind of the TLDR, why does this matter? A trust gap isn't good for the clients that you serve. It's not good for donors. It's not good for board members, right? Like if you play this out, having this trust gap is really good for no one, right? Like this doesn't ever result in a good thing. So how do we use governance and bring these things together? Anything else you'd add, Cody, here?
I think that trust and transparency go hand in hand, right? And it's an expectation in today's world, and I think we see this daily in the news, to your point, Jenny, which is transparency is definitely being highlighted and raised up as one of the most important things that can happen, because the public or constituents or donors really want to understand what's going on behind the scenes, because they're used to that in a lot of other forums. And so I would say, your last slide, Jenni, as well, protecting the mission, we'll talk about that as it relates to some of the work we've done around forms. We've definitely done some work around public sites when it comes to building transparency. We're trying to enable all of the value propositions of great governance through the development that we're working on. And the transparency one in particular is one where we felt like there's a real opportunity for us to lead the way, and to give options and start to see where our customers take those options, what they want to go and do, and what happens to their mission and their success as we enable that. So this is real. We definitely are anticipating more and more needs for transparency, and we definitely want to make it something where the amount of trust that all of you engender in your constituents is just going up, where they really feel comfortable working with you and your organization. And that's going to be a difference maker. It truly is. If there's two opportunities and one of them I really trust and the other one I'm just not sure because I don't know what's going on, I'm almost always going to choose the one that I have more insight into.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We are going to kind of bring this down to, I would say, like real world level. And we're going to start that with a poll question. So when we think about governance, which aspect of governance does your organization struggle with the most? And so to Cody's point, and to sort of some of the early slides, we see the problem, and we want to make it as easy as possible for you to kind of execute against the governance needs that your organization has, which they will vary from all organizations, but we know that everybody has them. So we'll go ahead and jump into this poll right now. There's kind of 4 that we've outlined here. Is it role clarity? Is it effective meetings and decision-making processes, board composition, recruitment, and diversity, or this accountability and performance evaluation side of things? So really curious to kind of see these results coming in, and see what you all think is the most kind of pressing issue, if you will, for this. So far, pretty split on the results, but we'll give you all a couple more moments to submit those answers. And then after this, we're going to jump over to looking at some of these product highlights and really how we are building things that are in support of this overall modern governance mission. And super interesting. It looks like the clear leader right now is the role clarity and boundaries. That aspect is one that is of importance, but we also have board composition, recruitment, and diversity as another one. So as another leader. So super interesting. Continue to answer that poll. We'll kind of move this forward and let Cody jump in with some of the product highlights that we have as part of this launch, sort of the new product features that we just want to highlight. We do have a few other product features that have been rolling out and all those things. If you're a Boardable customer, you'll receive some release notes. You'll receive more information on some of the nitty gritty and the details, but we're going to walk you through all of the highlights. This isn't user training. This is very much, hey, here are use cases. Here is how you are going to use this. If you need that user training, we'll follow up with ways that you can get that information as well.
I'm also probably the last person you want user training from, because it's like forest for the trees. Like I'm when you build it, you forget exactly how to tell someone how to use everything. Okay, let's go ahead and jump forward. Can you advance the slide for me, Jen? So we have some key launch features. So we've been working really hard on a few things that we're super excited about. The first of them is public sites. I'm going to be demoing all of these as well. I'm going to pull the chat back up just in case anybody has stuff that they want to comment on. So public sites. So again, this is a very much a transparency feature. It's targeted at those organizations that really have regulation around transparency, but we see a lot of utility for those organizations that don't have a requirement, but want to go above and beyond. And I'm very interested to hear what folks on the call or on the webinar have to say about, how they might use a site like this, because different versions of this might come along that might really help you communicate, publish, recruit, right? Like give you a public facing persona that would really be helpful in your mission. Secondly, I'm going to get into profile and governance forms. That's kind of a mouthful, but what it breaks down to is, hey, can I be up to date with everything I need to know about my board members? And can I do that easily, right? We've always allowed you to do profiles. And so you could capture a lot of information. We added custom data profiles, so you could capture custom data about your board members. But when it comes down to it, that's a lot of work. You have to go out and ask them, capture it, maybe in an email, type it in, update it, semi-regularly if you can, but a lot of it ends up going stale. So we've added some forms that will really help with that I'll be demoing. Governance forms, these are the things when we talked about protecting your mission. These are the really important things like conflict of interest or acknowledgement forms, things that you can point to say, hey, you have a conflict of interest here. I'm going to avoid that problem down the road. And I'm not going to get into a situation where that conflict could harm us and it could come back to bite us and keep us from achieving our mission. I'll get into AI minutes and the meeting engagement dashboard. Again, we don't love to throw AI around as like a catch-all right here. What we really want to think of is, how are we using AI to really help you get more done, improve governance, improve compliance, improve communication. For us, it's more of a means to an end. And I really think the way that we've done it gives you exactly as much as you want without forcing you to do anything. It just shows you some of the options, and you can actually pick and choose. You can sort of grab a piece of the AI minutes and you can move it in, or you can use all of it or none of it. So I'll be demoing all of this. And then lastly, we'll get into some discussions on accessibility and security, which we continue to invest in and focus on, because we have also seen that these are things that really, really matter when it comes to governance and when it comes to choosing a tool that will help you with governance. Because if it's not accessible and if it's insecure, you're not going to trust it and you're not going to be able to use it to its fullest. So I'll go ahead. I'm going to shut my camera off, but I'm going to share my screen so you don't have to see the side of my head. There we go. And I'm going to go ahead and maximize this. So this is the public site. So this is a public site for an organization called Wholesome Harvest, the food bank. This is a demo site that we put together on our side, and we use it for demonstrating the software all the time. And the first thing you'll notice is it's got some branding. It's got a lot of meetings that are front and center. And I'll explain how these meetings end up on this particular page. There's a welcome message. So if you want to publish a welcome message to welcome either your board members or the public to come in and see, who are you, what are you about, it all goes into this section here. We have policies. So if you publish policies and you want the public to be able to see them, or some subset of the public to be able to see them, we have all of these policies here, and I'll get into each of these a little bit more here in a second. So this is a page that you're going to get a link to. So this link will be published as part of your account, and you can embed this wherever you would like. So you can link to it from a website, you can share it, you can publish it elsewhere, and it's going to allow anyone outside of your organization to come in and see whatever you've selected as public. So this isn't everything. This isn't an open window into your day-to-day workings, but it is a window into the things that you want folks to see. So if I were to look at our next meeting, which is the Q3 board meeting, I can actually come in and click on view agenda and details. And so if I'm in the public and I want to know, hey, what's going on, or when's the next school board meeting, or when's the next meeting for this nonprofit, I can actually come in and see all of those, but then I can also see the agenda if you've published it. So when you publish, it shows up here. One thing that we added, which is some additional functionality that again might be useful in, say, an in-person meeting, or perhaps in a meeting that you're holding outside of Boardable video, is this ability to have a full agenda. And the full agenda looks slightly different, but the interesting thing is it only goes one section at a time. So if you have a very long section, or a lot of discussion that's going to go on and there's a lot of data within it, this actually will come up and allow you to go piece by piece. If you have a fairly short agenda, it's going to all be visible here, and this actually will show the complete agenda. You can go to previous meeting or next meeting. But ultimately, the idea here is that when you publish the agenda, the public knows, or whomever you've given this link to, they know exactly what's coming up and what you're going to be discussing. So if you want folks to be able to look back at previous meetings, we have previous meetings on here as well. You can do that. You can go through and you can actually see that if minutes are published, these minutes are pretty basic, but you can see that the minutes are published here, and you could even have a video. So you could have the recording of that meeting available as well. And so that transparency really comes through. So this site is pretty straightforward, but you might be saying like, well, yeah, but how much work is it to really get this thing to look this way? Well, as part of your Boardable subscription, you can get access to this admin page. So this admin page is simply a separate page from board management. And this is the dashboard. And it's going to show all of the changes to the public page. It'll show you a site preview for the public page. It'll show you the upcoming meeting, but it can also show you all of the meetings that are coming up, and it'll list those out. We also allow you to see when were these materials published. So some of you might have a requirement, especially if you're in education, around, hey, 48 hours before the meeting, this has to be publicly posted. Well, we're going to show so that you have a record of, hey, was this published the full 48 hours in advance or not? And you can see the list, and you can also star these meetings, and starred meetings will appear on the homepage. So all of these meetings that are in the featured section are starred. So I can manage that very easily. We manage policies from here as well. So if I were to come in and click into governance policies and I want to look at this, I can actually go through and build out my policy document. So I can give it a code, I can give it an item name, I can put the content in. And then again, because it's very important to keep track of when these things are happening, we give an adopted, last revised, last reviewed. And obviously there are some easy formatting pieces that can come in as part of the editor. But all of this ends up being things that are, if it is published here, it can go to the live site. So these policies end up showing up here or underneath the policy section. And so maybe you only have one policy manual. That's totally fine. It would show under here. If you had multiple, then you'd be able to manage those as well. I think probably the most interesting thing about the admin site is that the admin site allows you to disable your public site. So if you want to take it down for any reason, you can do that. You can change your header image. So your header image and your logo, you can see that that's what these two things up here are. And then we actually allow you to choose a theme color. So if I choose green and come down and save those changes, I can actually see those changes reflected here when I refresh this site, and everything's going to actually turn a little bit of a green. So we're just testing this out. So if you have a logo or if you have an image that really doesn't look great with green or blue, you could always come in and change that and make it, the sort of yellow brown or orangish brown as well. We also allow you to put links at the bottom. So say you have links to other sites or partners or activities, we allow you to change any of these. In this case, it looks like somebody has mistakenly put a grilled cheese recipe into the links for this one. All you have to do is just delete that, save those changes, and on the next refresh, that site. So it's very customizable. You can change a lot of the look and feel. You can change the quick links. You can put in new address, phone number. And again, this gives a one-stop shop. So what I do want to point out, though, is this is actually the Boardable organization for Wholesome Harvest. And I'm looking at a meeting. So you can see that this Q3 meeting is reflected in the public site. It was reflected in the admin site. The materials were published. So this agenda was visible in that last meeting on the public site. What I want to point out is there are many other meetings in here, and it's just a simple toggle to say yes or no. If I say no and save this, that meeting will disappear from the public site altogether. And so we definitely don't want you to publish a bunch of private meetings or committee meetings that you don't want to, but we want to make it very easy for you to go in and add a meeting. The difference here is that when you come to the admin site, these meetings, you're not going to really edit anything in here. All of this is going to go back to board management. And so it gives you basically a format for saying, hey, how would I actually go in and edit these meetings? You'd start and build your meeting just like you do every day. You don't have to do anything special. All you're going to do is check that it's public, and it will automatically be available to the admin site and the public site. And then as you move along and publish materials, that's all just going to take care of it itself. So once the site is set up, and it's very low effort to actually customize it, to upload your logo and your welcome message and things like that, it's basically going to take care of all of the publishing pieces for you, as long as you're going in and checking that meetings are public. You also can build an entire meeting and then publish it. So you can do this step last and not have any of the worry of like, hey, am I putting things out there that I shouldn't? So that's our public site. We, like I said, we've done this in conjunction with some of our education partners. They have a lot of requirements around public sites and publicly available meetings, agendas, policies, but there's utility across the board. So if you're interested in this at all, I would highly recommend reaching out, because there can be some real utility for you, even if you don't have a hard and fast requirement for it.
And just to reiterate, the great thing that I see in public sites, Cody, and correct me if I'm wrong, is this idea that you're already creating these materials over in Boardable, and you're really just able to then select the things that you want for transparency. So you're not having to like re-upload or create another site.
Correct.
It's really just that kind of push over to, hey, this should be public. We should let everybody see this. This shouldn't be public. And it takes a couple of quick steps, but enough steps that you're not just like accidentally doing a lot of things public, of course, that you don't want to. But I think that that's really the beauty is you're already doing these in Boardable. Let us also then kind of push this forward. And this site URL, it'll be your Boardable domain URL with the public sites piece, but you can link off to this from your current website. And so perhaps today somebody's having to go into WordPress and update this on a regular basis, or build this out for every meeting and all of those things. This can really take those steps away. That you might be.
100%. And we do allow you to edit your custom URL, so you can make it whatever you would like. You can change your organization display name. Even if your organization is named one thing in Boardable, your public site can display a different name if that's important to you. And I will also say, this custom URL, you could, even if you're not publishing it publicly, you could give it to a few board members who struggle to access materials. And you could just say, hey, bookmark this site, and they're just going to have an easy way to be able to go and look and say, hey, these are the upcoming meetings. Here's the agenda for those meetings. At least they're preparing as much as possible if they struggle in some way, which we know some folks do. I would say the last but not least is, we're definitely more and more frequently doing things like an activity log. And so you can see in this case, if anything went wrong, it's clearly my fault because I'm the person that's been doing all the activities. But if you had a bunch of folks who were publishing meetings or changing things, you could really quickly go back in and identify, oh, hey, you're making a bunch of meetings public that we don't want to be public. So in the future, just set that to no. And so you can go through and actually check those things, and you can see, hey, is there a meeting that's been changed? Well, if there has, I can jump directly to it. So this is another step from a governance standpoint, a compliance standpoint. We really want to give you auditability as to what's going on. So that's everything on the public site. We have a lot more to go through. I'm sure there's been some questions that we'll try and clean those up on the backside. Next, I want to get into forms. So we really classify forms into the two types that I talked about earlier, sort of the data profile and the governance. And so if you have forms, pretty easy to get to. If you are a longer time Boardable customer, you'll notice that like this app switcher didn't really exist until we started building more apps. But we built one called Forms, and Forms is pretty straightforward. The first tab you're going to see is governance form. The second tab is profile data. I'll start with governance forms. So again, these are going to be PDFs that you're going to send for form collection to board members. So in this case, I'll go ahead and say I'm going to start and a governance form. And I've got a couple of them in here already. These are just PDFs that I had created. So likely a lot of you, if not all of you, have PDFs that you have sitting around that whenever a new member starts or a new group of board members start on their term, you've got to go through and send them all of these and try and get them signed by DocuSign or get them hand signed and then rescanned. We felt like that was a lot of extra steps that were really unnecessary. And so I'm going to go ahead and upload this acknowledgement form. Full disclosure, I borrowed this from, I believe, an education institute, William Woods University. But once the PDF is in here, it's very simple to go ahead and and customize it to your needs. So I'm going to go ahead and start with just a plain text input. So I just put that down here. When that form is sent, that field is going to be fillable. I can also do that with a signature. I click signature, I pull that down, I put it about here. And then if I do something called signature date, it actually doesn't require it to be filled in. So if I put signature date here, when this form is signed, it will capture that date automatically. So I'm going to go ahead and click save. So that's all I had to do to build a form. We can build the other form I have in here. You can build pretty complicated forms. You can put lots of text inputs into there. You can put check boxes. You can do initials. Whatever form you have today, you can customize that to get it to the point where you can send this out. So I'm going to go ahead and say done. So I'm done building the form. So at this point, I don't need to build another one. If I send this to every new member in perpetuity, I've got it. And you can kind of see down here kind of what it's going to look like. It's going to look like, the PDF with a few fields that are kind of on here. You don't even see the date because once I sign it, that date is just going to automatically fill in. So let's say now I want to go ahead and do something with this. So I'm going to add assignees. I don't need a due date for this. So I'm not going to set one. I can add a simple message that's going to be sent. Hi, please fill this out if I can type. There we go. And then I think the beauty of this is you get some options. So if I'm going to send it to myself today so I can show this to you guys. But if I wanted to, I could go through and pick finance committee, governance committee, executive committee. I can pick all of these groups. And if I'm not comfortable with I don't need everybody, I could go in, break it out, and just take one person out. And now I have 4 people that are all going to get this form. It's all going to be specific to them, and they're all going to fill it out. So I can go ahead and just find myself as well. I could find Jenni too if she wanted to fill out this form for me. But all I do is I click send, and the assignees are added successfully. So now you've got a way to track. Okay, well, I've sent this. When did I send it? Did I put a due date? No. What's the status? Not sent. I haven't done anything with it at all. You guys might have noticed I just got something into my inbox, and I got a new form from the Apple Tree Foundation. So I'm going to come in here. I click the email. I say I'd like to fill this form out. And as simple as that, I don't know what it probably take. If I hadn't been talking, it might have taken 60 seconds, maybe. I can have this form into the hands of every member that needs it. This is the most nerve-wracking part, is signing with my trackpad. But I can do that. I hit save. I can enter my name. As you saw, the date automatically filled in, so there's no reason to do that, but I have it captured. I click submit. There we go. And now, as a user, so now this is me as Cody, the member. I can print this for my own records, or I can download it. I can do either one if I want those things. If I don't, it's not a big deal. I can just close the window and move on. If I come back in and I refresh, let's go back and see. If I come back in and actually look at assign and track, you can see that I've completed this form. So now, let's say you send a form to 20 of your members. You don't have to send emails and say, hey, have you done this? Are you going to do it? You can see immediately, have they done this? The nice thing is that if I click view profile, it will actually take me here. And this is my profile in Boardable. And so I can actually look at completed forms, and I can look and see if there's a conflict of interest form. I probably need to refresh. I can see that there's an acknowledgement form PDF. And if I click this, it's going to open up and it's going to show me that form. So I've saved all of the email steps. I've saved all of the upload steps. I've saved building the signatures in DocuSign or handing over a paper PDF. I've saved all that time, and it's going to stay on here in perpetuity. I can see when it was sent and when it was completed, and now it's part of the record. So this is part of the record for my profile from now on. If there's ever a question, did Cody fill out an acknowledgement form or a conflict of interest form? I can go right here, notwithstanding that I could also go in and see I can see where Cody completed this. One thing that I will point out is once I have this form in this state, I no longer can fill this out. This is actually a different Cody Bender. I don't show up in the list anymore. So if you want to send me something very similar, but a slightly different version or a new year, you actually have to build a new form for this type of form, just because let's say you did one for 2024 and one for 2025, you're going to want to make those changes to the form itself so that it's apparent. So that's governance forms. I think they're as easy as possible. We've really focused on simplification here. We want to make it, and it's actually much more impressive when you start to add 20 or 30 people in and send them all at the same time, because in the background, it's doing a lot of this work on its own. It's sending it, it's collecting the results, it's putting them onto the profile. All that work that you previously would have had to do, you don't have to do any of that anymore. So we're hoping that if you're already doing this work, it makes it much, much easier. And if you're not doing it because you feel like, man, it's just so hard to do all of this work for my board, we're hoping it unlocks that for you and makes it so that, hey, now I can just do that much more when I'm working with board members. So that's governance forms. Profile data forms are slightly different. Profile data forms are, hey, there are things you need to know about your board members that are onerous to collect. And so the first thing I'm going to point out is there are some of these that are forms. And then this one in particular is a template. So if you click the template and say create a new form, what it does is it gives you every field that we have available, and it allows you to build a form out of it. So if I was to create a form right now, it would create a very long form, and it would ask your board members or whoever you send it to fill out every single field. You probably don't want to do that. They will maybe quit halfway through the form and give you a call and say, hey, I don't really care for this. There are likely sections that you do want. So let's say, for example, we wanted shared info only. Well, the good news is that you can come down and take out whole sections at a time and really bring this down and say, okay, now it's just shared info. This is what I need. If I create a form here and call it shared info, it's just going to be this, and it's going to send it. And it will show you how many questions you actually end up removing. So building a data form is super easy. It's not, we start you out with all the fields. You can go through and you can decide, hey, do I actually, what do I need and what don't I need? And you can pick from any of those. They don't have to be in the same section or anything. I actually went ahead and created what I called the shared info and location form. To no one's surprise, it's the shared info section and it is the location section. So good news on this one as well is that you'll notice that I've actually already filled out this form. That's okay, because even though I've already filled it out, I can fill it out again. And the reason for that is you may want to update information on a regular basis. So you may say, hey, I'm going to send this back to Cody. Now it's sent to me. I'm going to come back to my inbox. It'll show up here. I've got another form to fill out. It's called shared info and location. Pretty straightforward. I check that box. And now I can enter in all of my information very quickly. Advisor. Again, the speed with which you can do this, especially if you're like auto completing to a certain extent. But I could say CA if I, if I just want to change something up instead of CO. And I click submit, and that form is sent. And now if I come in to actually look at my information in Boardable, the shared info is updated. The role is advisor. If I can also take questions out for any individual section. So I didn't include all questions from this section. I trimmed it back. And as you can see, I actually changed Colorado to California, and it updated almost immediately, like super fast. So it's almost instantaneous. I'm gonna go ahead and save that so no one forgets where I'm actually at. But it's really, really quick to do this. So you can build forms basically for whatever information you want on this list. We're going to be bringing custom data collection to the table soon. So we already have this. So you can collect custom data about basically you build whatever fields you want. We just need to link that up to forms going forward, and you'll be able to say, hey, I want to ask a bunch of questions that are very specific to my organization, and I want to be able to send it whenever I want. And that's all it took, was to be able to just do that. We also allow you to send reminders for data, just a little ping to say, hey, do you are you going to fill this out? Can you do it soon? And that just allows you to send it only to those people who haven't completed it. But as you can see, we come with a few sort of standard forms that you can send, so you don't have to create your own. If you want to just basic contact information, if I click into this is a preview of what they're going to see. And so you would just say, hey, I just need to know these things about you ASAP. So those are the two types of forms. We have governance forms and profile data forms. Again, we're skipping a lot of the manual emailing, the manual asking, the uploading to whatever repository you were using, right? You might have been using the document center. You might have been just using a shared drive. This is more secure. This is directly tied to that profile. And we keep that profile for you. So even when someone's off the board, hey, you can always go back and reference and say, hey, do I have this information? If it comes up down the road, do I have those forms? So that's forms. Anything to add there, Jenni? Any thoughts?
No, I mean, I think that the big thing is like these forms, especially the governance forms, are really, yeah, I mean, obviously we called them governance forms for a reason, really help you drive just the culture of, hey, we're going to do a conflict of interest for everybody that joins. And this is like how it's done. And it's all in one place and it's stored in one place. And it's not this one-off, like, oh gosh, we should probably do that, type of thing. It becomes part of your process and part of your workflow. And that's really what all of these tools are designed to do, is to make that governance process easier for everyone. So yeah.
100%. And so to give you everyone on the call also a glimpse into the future of some of these things. So now we have forms that basically, if you just kick them off, they'll run and you can pick the people. What we really want to do in the next 6 to 12 months is start to make this something that you're going to just automatically check a box for when you're adding someone to Boardable. So you say, hey, I just want to send them the set of forms that are required for all new members. Now you're really setting it and forgetting it. You're not worried at all, because it's going to keep you up to date with, hey, who has done it, who hasn't. Every time somebody new starts, you'll get the prompt to remind you to send it. So we've built the functionality, and I think it's going to be really important for existing members, but we really want to unlock this. To Jenni's point, if there's ever a chance that it will be missed, that's a real problem when it comes to protecting the mission. Or if it's just really onerous, it just takes time away from what you really should be doing. We want to make that governance piece just that much easier. And so that visibility and that transparency. So the screen you're looking at, some of you might be familiar with it, and some of you might not, but I would guess most of you are. This is just a meeting that's already occurred. And so this happened back on June 28th. The materials were published, people were invited, we have a summary and recording of it. And in this case, this particular account has our AI features turned on. And so what that means is we capture a transcript of this meeting separate from the recording. It's purely text. And then we allow AI to work on it that is ours. So we don't send these things out to the cloud. We do all of it ourselves, and then we don't share that transcript with anybody else to train any models or anything like that. But when you get here, if you're going to do your minutes, you have some options. Sometimes you'll have started your minutes ahead of time and you'll already have something here. Other times you might want to start from scratch or start from an agenda. What we've added is the ability to start from AI generated minutes. Let's say you're not clear, like, I'm afraid of pushing that blue button, Cody, because like, what happens? Well, the good news is we let you preview, hey, what is this? Like, what happened in this meeting? And you can copy and say, hey, I want that piece, or you can take the whole thing. It gives you some discussion notes. It gives you clearly what happened as part of the agenda and minutes. This one's a little bit different because we didn't actually go through and sit in this meeting, but it uses the agenda. So it uses the agenda and it uses the transcript to go through and create a set of AI generated minutes. If I look at that and say, that's great, that just saved me 2 hours of trying to transcribe everything, I can click start from AI generated minutes, and it's going to go through and it's going to take all of that AI generated text and it's going to pop it into the minutes itself. If for some reason I don't love that, if I say, hey, I might not like the way that looks, or I may not like what it's captured, I can always go in and blow that piece out. This can take a little while because of just the way that it's going to generate the AI minutes. We'll see if it actually finishes up here. It's loading them. There we go. So this is the minutes editor that you're familiar with. So now anything that you want to do, you're able to do within the minutes. It just brought in the text. So it's not going to come in and lock it and say you have to use everything that's in here, or you can't add to it, or you can't change it. But we see it as sort of a shortcut, which is, hey, if you want to start, if you look at it and say, I can easily start from this, great, go for it. If you look at it and say, I can't really use this, we do have, I'm going to go ahead and delete these just so that there's no danger, right? Because we did just generate them automatically. If for some reason I wanted to change what the AI actually did, I could say regenerate AI minutes and it will give me a slightly different version. So if you are looking for something that isn't there, or you just want to try this feature out and see if there's a version that really works for you, we built a little button in that lets you do it as well. Once you've got it, I mean, I can click start from agenda. You guys should all be familiar with this as well. It's very, very similar. You're just starting from AI generated text that was used the minutes or the agenda and the transcript itself. And then you can do everything you normally would do, which is you can go get signatures from it. You can publish those minutes. You can view them as a PDF. This is, like I said, this is the built from agenda, but it works exactly the same. And so and the reason why it's built this way is we understand that there are going to be organizations, and I've heard this directly from some, which are they're not going to use an AI generated minutes because they're very particular about the way that they want to build their minutes and what they want to put in them and what they don't. We still think that this is a really easy way to start, but there's no pressure one way or the other. It's just a tool for you to use as you see fit to improve your governance, to get more into your minutes, to get your minutes out faster so that you can get approvals and move on. So we like this feature a lot. It's all of our AI features are in beta. We'll be taking those out very soon. Most of those are going to be reliant on some extra permissions and controls. So we just want to make sure that everyone feels as comfortable as possible using the AI tools. But this is available in beta today, and you know, anyone can try it. There's no risk to it, which is, hey, if you don't like what it generates, you can always just get rid of them.
Awesome. Cody, that was such a great overview of all of the things that we've been working on. A lot of them tied so directly to this idea of modern governance. We have a couple of other topics that we promised to get to when it comes to new things coming. I'll let you hit on this one quickly around the meeting engagement dashboard, which I'm personally really excited about, because I do think that even when it goes back to the poll question of what's an area that we're struggling with, like roles, responsibilities, and those types of things. And I think some of this meeting engagement information actually could help answer some of those questions, or at least see what the current state is before you go and kind of edit some of the descriptions of different roles. So
100%, Jenny. Like I think I saw that poll result come through and it gets the wheels turning right away. So the meeting engagement dashboard, we're in the early stages there. We've got the designs and the requirements, and we're just getting ready to pull that into development. So this would be a precursor. So this would be on the meeting preparation page. You would get a dashboard, and it's going to give you a sense of how are we progressing towards being prepared for this meeting? Like, how are we really getting ready for this? Are members engaged? Are they RSVPing? Are they looking at documents? Who's looking at documents? Is it one person that's looking at a lot of it? And this actually came as our own CEO used a function of ours called the document audit log a lot, and it was kind of hidden. And he said, I really like this because I can see, hey, has everyone looked at the budget, or have they looked at the presentation? And like, do I have to spend some time explaining this, or have people really prepared for it? And so we decided to expand on that idea. And this screen might be a little bit small, so it's small on mine. So I'll just walk through the sections really quickly. The top section is all about, have people RSVP'd? And so if you are not getting RSVPs, if you don't know if you're going to get quorum, if you don't know if people are going to show up, you can always reach back out and just ask and say, hey, resend the invites and say, hey, please RSVP, because it's going to be important for us to know if we can even have this meeting. So just step one. Steps 2 and maybe 2A and 2B are, we publish a lot of information. We put documents into the agenda. Who's looking at these things? Who has accessed them, and which ones? So has everyone looked at the budget, or has only one person looked at our strategic plan for next year or the upcoming event calendar? These are things that are really helpful to know going in, that they just haven't been accessed prior to the meeting. And you can actually see, as you get closer to the meeting, these numbers will start to tick up, right? People will start to prepare as they get closer to. I mean, I'm as guilty of this as anyone, which is like, a deadline is a great forcing function for me, because Sunday night for a Wednesday meeting, I may not be looking at those documents. Tuesday night, I definitely am. And so not only do we show you which documents are being accessed and what's happening there, we also show you for any individual members. Maybe you have outstanding members who are really engaged and they're just looking at everything and interacting with all the content. And maybe you have a couple that need a nudge. And I think that's where the second piece of this dashboard comes in. This tells you all of these things. Our goal is to start introducing some agents, AI agents, that will give a gentle nudge based on your sort of parameters to say, hey, you don't have to send a note and ask for folks to RSVP who haven't. We can have the AI just send a gentle nudge and say, hey, would you please RSVP if you haven't had a chance? Or, hey, you haven't looked at the budget for 2026 yet. We're going to be talking about it in detail. Could you please take a look at it? Again, we're not trying to create any kind of strife or any kind of problem where someone feels like they're getting nudged too hard. That's the reason why I use the word nudge, because it's supposed to be like, we just want to take some of this off your plate, where you would love to send an email and just remind them, or a text message. Jenni is a big fan of text messages. Sending a text message, we want an agent to be able to help you with that, and really listen to you as to how, I'll use the word aggressive, right, or passive, do you want to be? Do you want to give a gentle nudge? But the starting point is this dashboard to just give you the information so that you can start to see, how does this group perform, whether it's a committee or your board. How do they perform when it comes to being really engaged and prepared for the next meeting?
Awesome. This is great. And again, meeting engagement is something that's coming soon. It's not in anyone's account yet today. It's being built right now, but we wanted to preview this just in that whole spirit of how do we give you more information, to drive those governance decisions forward. I also would say, if any of this feels like, ooh, I don't want this, it's going to be optional, like all of our sort of AI and analysis pieces are. So you're going to be able to flip this off, not have this visible, not have this data being recorded either. So it's really flexible in that way. And to that same vein, when it comes to accessibility and security, I'm just going to highlight a few quick things here. Accessibility and security are sort of like the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, like at the very bottom of what you have to have in a board management platform to drive strong governance, right? You need it to be accessible and you need it to be secure. And so we have a new trust center that my colleague Lavon has really worked with our engineering team to create. It's just boardable.com/trust. We'll drop that in the chat as well. And it really goes a deeper dive into all of our certifications, as well as beyond just the box checking and the certifications that we have, just our best practices and our processes for how we do things at Boardable to ensure the security of the platform and of your information and data. Accessibility, we continue to strive to be the industry leaders in accessibility, and believe today we are. So our accessibility tools really take a really broad view of how to make a software platform accessible, everything from epilepsy sensitivity, to vision impairment, all of the different things that we can do as a software platform to make leveraging Boardable and being a part of a nonprofit board accessible for all. So really exciting things there, and really critical for governance. A lot of times in the public sector, even a requirement, to have these types of things. Anything to add on accessibility and security? It's something that the details start, I think, for a lot of us to be like, okay. But it is critical, it is important, and Boardable continues to invest in it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a truly a key decision when you start to think about alternatives and why so many people come to Boardable for help is because it's so hard to do this yourself well. It's one of those things where there's a certain diligence and focus on it that is just it's just required. And so I cannot stress highly enough how important those two areas are. And we really do pride ourselves on being a partner in those areas that like we I can't tell you how many conversations we have with incoming customers to make sure that their needs are met and that they are comfortable with the efforts that we're taking in both accessibility and security. It's just really important when it comes to governance and to just ensuring future operations.
Absolutely. Absolutely. At the very beginning, I led with, hey, this isn't just product features. We're also launching some really great new resources for customers and even beyond customers as part of our mission to be like helping all of you to be next level nonprofits. Look for more webinars. We have a couple of coming up ones with some great experts. One around capital campaigns that's going to be really critical for our charitable organizations. We also have a really cool new nonprofit network Slack community that's getting ready to launch. We are, if you're not a customer, we are going to ask you to apply to join. We want to just make sure that it's not an advertising network and it really remains a place for peers to connect and talk about different topics. We'll have our experts in there helping to moderate. We'll have our team in there helping to moderate. So we'll be a really great community. We know several of you use Slack in your everyday work communications, in addition to using Boardable for your board management. We also have some group training opportunities, which are great. They're great ways to just plug in and be like, oh, I need a refresher on admin training, or I'd like to use documents better. So these ways that you can have a smaller group, 20, 40 people, you can ask questions and you can really deep dive. This is really great, mostly for admins, although we will have some user trainings as part of this as well. And then last but not least is that I've kind of alluded to this idea of experts. So on a monthly basis, we're partnering with a nonprofit expert, to host a webinar, to be a part of the nonprofit network on the Slack community, and then to also host some office hours where there really is this ample time for Q&A, maybe a few slides to tee up a conversation, but really an opportunity for us to kind of leverage, I would say, our footprint and our ability to kind of bring these folks in and leverage that for our customers. Expert office hours and group training opportunities are only for Boardable customers. The webinars and the nonprofit network are going to be open to the broader nonprofit community. So super excited about both of these. Again, big props to my colleague, Levon, who's been really leading the charge on these, but excited for you to join these. She'll be emailing information. So look for her name and look for that information coming your way. And then, when we talk about group training, I'd love to get a quick pulse. We'll go through this a little quickly of which training opportunities you'd be interested in. I'll make sure you get invites to those coming up and that you get on those list. So if you're on this webinar, we'll, kind of bump you up online a little bit as much as we can and make sure you get invited to those. So we're going to go ahead and launch that poll right now and let you enter in any that you're interested in. I think you might only be able to select one. So pick the one that you're most interested in, but we'll be getting all of those in front of you all as well. Just want to make sure everybody's educated and knows all these powerful ways to use Boardable. Anything else that you would add there, Cody, before we kind of get to wrap up?
No, I mean, the one thing I will say is from a training and knowledge perspective, you mentioned Levon and the work that she's doing. I'm clearly like very interested in product and what we're building and how that can help all of you. We are internally discussing daily, if not, weekly, if not daily, what else can we be doing to help our customers? And so Jenni, your point about the work that Levon's doing, the trainings, these are all things that we're trying to layer around Boardable because we really want to make sure that, to your point earlier, the very first point, which is like our goal is to really enable great governance and get all the benefits of that. And some of that is just going to not be something that's product only. It's going to be product and knowledge or product and training. And so always interested in feedback on that as well. What would help? What you would love to see? What isn't very helpful? Like it's easy. We get a lot of product feedback, which makes my job a lot easier, but we would always welcome feedback on things that you'd be interested in up-leveling on, either generally or Boardable, because that's just, we have a real appetite for investing in those types of activities.
Awesome. There are a few ways that you can connect with us. Product feedback, Cody already mentioned. Our customer success team and support. There's email addresses up here. If you're not a customer, or if perhaps you are on multiple boards and want to have Boardable for all of your boards, email our team at sales@boardable.com. I'm happy to help there as well. We had one last poll question. We're going to skip it as a poll, but if you want to jump in and drop into chat any of your goals for your board for the remainder of 2025, we'd love to hear those as we kind of wrap up the webinar. I know we didn't get a chance to do live Q&A, but we are right up at time and want to be respectful of that. We will be following up with any chat questions, as well as any other chats that are in there, following up with you directly, and then I'll pull these back up. If you do have other questions, though, feel free to reach out to any of these great teams within our organization. We're here to help. We're here to serve you. And I hope you guys can get as excited about governance as I would say we have over the last several months, as we've really tried to build around that theme when it comes to product, and then also offer these expert outlets and ways to connect to kind of just carry that on for your organization. Any final thoughts, Cody?
No, thank you guys. Thank you guys for coming. We love doing these. We get excited about it. We love the interaction and hearing from all of you. So we really appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody. Let us know if you have any questions. Thanks so much.